Hello and welcome. We're continuing with our journey through the best of the decades, and in this video specifically, we're going to be talking about the aughts or the 2000s. So 2000 all the way up through 2009. Like the 80s and the 90s, the 2000s are a very specific point in time when it comes to movies. We got a lot of great films that came out of that time period, so let's get ready to jump in. Welcome once again, my name is Austin, and on this channel we talk about one of my favorite things in the world, movies, and how I tie together my faith with film and everything that's in between. Some of my favorite movies of all time came out of the 2000s, and first and foremost, we're going to get the easy one out of the way and say The Lord of the Rings. Now, for me, I consider all the Lord of the Rings movies to be one movie because they really kind of are. The stories all pick up and leave off exactly where the last one did. But if I did have to pick a favorite, I would go with The Fellowship of the Ring. I think it brings about the most kind of balance and the most variety when it comes to the world of Middle Earth. We get some of the fun stuff with the Shire. We get the more serious stuff with the battle sequence at the end and the more darker sequences. It has a really good variety to it. You get the fun humor of the hobbits. You get some elves in there. You get Aragorn and Gimli and the dwarf stuff and all that kind of stuff. It has the most variety in my opinion, and I kind of enjoy that one the most, exploring the world of Middle Earth for the first time. Now, I could say almost exactly the same thing about the rest of these movies, but if I was forced to pick a specific one of these for those people who want me to just pick one movie, I would say The Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite of the trilogy, though if I could cheat a little, I would say all three are one film. If you perhaps don't know, The Lord of the Rings is my favorite of all time. I have so many fond memories of watching it growing up. It's been incredibly foundational in my love for movies and cinema, and especially in my faith as well, with the themes and the characters that we get to focus on and follow along with throughout the story of those movies. I did a huge series a while back on the channel about why I consider The Lord of the Rings to be the best and so great. So if you want to check that out, by all means, go for it. But The Lord of the Rings is easily one of my favorite movies to come out of the 2000s. Next, we have another all-time great, and that is The Dark Knight. The Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy took Batman in a completely new direction for how we could view and interpret the character, put into a very down-to-earth, grounded, realistic, what would happen if a guy decided to dress as a bat and become a vigilante. And I love all three of these movies, and The Dark Knight is easily the best of the three. I love all three for different reasons, but everything that culminates in The Dark Knight with the Heath Ledger Joker performance, the bringing back of Christian Bale as Batman, and all of the conflict that they face between each other, the utilization of Aaron Eckhart as the Two-Face character. They do a really good job of balancing multiple antagonist characters, which isn't always something easy or well done in other superhero movies, but it's executed fantastically in this one. This is a movie that will go down as one of the greatest superhero movies of all time and is easily one of my favorite movies of the 2000s. Next, we have what came into a tight competition, but for me, I'm going to go with the best Bond movie in my opinion, at least of the ones I've seen, most notably the Daniel Craig ones, as Casino Royale. I love the Daniel Craig Bond movies, and this Casino Royale one is arguably the best one in the series of films that they did with that interpretation of the character. I think it does a fantastic job kind of introducing us into this new and different world of James Bond. Like I said, I've only really seen the Daniel Craig ones, but it introduced us into this dark and gritty, and like similar to how Christopher Nolan does with Batman, just this real world James Bond type thing. It's not flashy, it's not over the top, it's very realistic in how it decides to portray the story. I think the story of this one, Casino Royale, is great. I love the antagonist character. I forget his name. I think it's Shreve. They do a fantastic job with him and Bond butting heads throughout this movie. I like that this movie's different in that it just isn't this big action movie, which when this series decides to be a big action movie, it does great job with that. But at the same time, the most intense moments in this movie take place at a card table. And I think it does a fantastic job with all that. It really deconstructs the character of James Bond in interesting ways, and this will definitely go down as my favorite Bond movie for probably a good ways to come, and I love where the series went afterwards, but for me the start was the best of the Bond movies, as well as my favorite, one of my favorites from the early 2000s. Before I continue, don't forget to join me either in the comments or in your own video, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube, anything like that. Just tag me and let me know your lists. I'd be happy to share and promote and be a part of it. It's definitely a community challenge, so I'd love to hear your input on it as well, because we all have different favorites. Next, we have what is one of Russell Crowe's best performances in Gladiator, and also one of Ridley Scott's best movies. I love Gladiator. It's not one I watched growing up necessarily, but once I did get introduced to it, I fell in love with it. I absolutely love the world and the setting of this movie. I think Hans Zimmer's soundtrack is incredible. I love the music for this movie. You have amazing performances from Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix, as well as many other supporting actors and characters as well. I always get so invested in the story of Maximus and the trials and tribulation that he has to go through and the hardship that he's put through to just come back and try to be an honorable man still, but seek justice and vengeance for his family. So I love this movie so much. It's one that I always enjoy going back and revisiting, and it's definitely one of the best movies to come out of the 2000s. Next, one of my favorite comedies of all time, as well as action movies. This is one of those genre benders for me, and that is Hot Fuzz. I love Hot Fuzz. It's my favorite Edgar Wright movie, which is saying something because a lot of his movies are fantastic. But for me, this movie always has me laughing out loud, always enjoying the humor, the jokes, the setup, and the payoff constantly taking place throughout the film. And then besides that, we have some fantastic action sequences throughout, as well as some incorporation of slasher stuff and a little bit of the horror genre in there as well. It's an all-around great movie, amazing performances that really lean into the quirkiness of the movie and the story. I always enjoy a watch from this one. Got to introduce it to some friends of mine as well. It's a great movie to introduce people to with regard to Edgar Wright. So Hot Fuzz, for me, easily one of the best movies to come out of the 2000s. Next, the movie that kicked off a generational shift in movies, and that is Iron Man. I still consider Iron Man, the original one from 2009 with Robert Downey Jr., to be one of the best movies in the MCU. It's so simple looking back on it, with where the MCU has gone and grown since then. But going back to the simpler, stripped down origins of the MCU, Iron Man is still a fantastic movie. It has a great character arc for Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark character, and then you get a really solid performance from him, and it sets up so many things that are explored and continued in subsequent films throughout not only the Iron Man movies, but the greater MCU, and getting to go back and see the origins of Tony Stark and then where he leads in Endgame. All of the final, so much of what is set up in this movie is continued to be of great relevance throughout the rest of the series. So I consider Iron Man to still be one of the best movies in the MCU. It's kicked off an amazing franchise that has seen its share of ups and downs, but there's no denying the impact that it had on our culture and movies as a whole. Next, we have Spider-Man 2. I always go back and forth between Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 on which one I like more. It changes depending on the day you ask me, but for now, we're going to go with Spider-Man 2. I love everything they do with this movie to take the foundation that was set up in the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, the Green Goblin, and Mary Jane and Osborn's, that kind of thing, and it's all set up and then continued very well. I think the introduction of I think bringing in Dr. Octopus as the villain was a fantastic choice. The effects on him still look incredible to today's standards. They do so many interesting things with Peter Parker's character, with the idea of him losing his powers, doubting himself, finding his identity. And that's always something I've latched onto with his character in the greater, world that is Spider-Man with his comics and shows and all that, but specifically in this film, I've always latched onto that the idea and that theme that has been focused on in this movie. So you get some of the best action we ever got in the 2000s. You get some great comic book moments, as well as some just great character moments with Peter Parker's character and the rest of the cast of characters, whether it's the heroes, the villains, the friends, all of that kind of stuff. I think Spider-Man 2 is easily one of the best movies of the 2000s. Next, I got a couple Disney movies coming your way. We can't talk about great movies without talking about Disney. They do some incredible work. For me, one of the best movies of the 2000s from them is Treasure Planet. This is an underrated, maybe not masterpiece, but it's very, very underrated amongst their filmography. And it's one that I wish would have gotten more attention, or maybe would be one that they would consider for one of their live action remakes. I think it'd be translated to the live action in a really interesting way, but that's besides the point. I love Treasure Planet. I've always enjoyed the exciting blend of pirates and treasure hunting with science fiction, spaceships, and interstellar travel. All of this stuff meshed together for one film has always been fascinating to me. I've always enjoyed the technology that's explored in the movie. And then Jim's character has always been one that I found interesting with his kind of rebellious spirit. And one that I've always enjoyed seeing his arc throughout the movie. Is one I wish we got to continue to see in other installments, whether it's in a live action format or continuations, that kind of thing. But I've always loved this movie, the world that it's built in and established, and I think it's definitely one of Disney's best movies despite its underrated and underappreciated nature. Next, the other Disney movie I want to mention is The Incredibles. This is my favorite Pixar movie, probably. I have always loved The Incredibles. I still remember going to see it with my family in theaters when it first came out, and we have always enjoyed going back and watching it growing up, and I've enjoyed going back to it over the years. And there's such a strong filmography from Disney Pixar, but for me still, I love The Incredibles. I love the exploration of the first time they really dig into human characters as opposed to animals or inanimate objects, that kind of thing, or fantastical beings, but getting to see them do humans and real people and real family for the first time is so interesting. They do so many cool things of just, they're a real family, and it's cool to see them bicker and argue and have their issues and have their strengths, and then all of that just wrapped up in the whole story of a family of superheroes is so much fun. So one that I always enjoy going back and revisiting, and will definitely go down as one of my favorite of the early 2000s. Finally, we have, depending on the day you ask me, once again, arguably my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, Inglorious Bastards. This and Django Unchained will always go back and forth for me as my favorite of his films, but this is another one that I would consider to be probably a perfect movie. Everything about the performances, the writing, the sets, the effects, all of it is incredible and top notch. I think it's such a story you instantly get wrapped up in and are immediately compelled to want to know what is going to happen. The villainous characters are so well portrayed that you can't help but love them and how much you hate them. The heroes and the more protagonistic characters are so compelling in their own right. You get behind their mission and their desire to seek justice and vengeance for the evil things that are taking place. And like I said, the performances are amazing. There's so many more cast of characters than I could even mention in this one. Quentin Tarantino has a way of getting some incredibly talented actors to be in his films, and this is no different. I absolutely love everything about this movie, and the fact that it even kind of explores filmmaking a little bit too is really fun. I love movies that revolve around filmmaking to an extent, and when he gets into a sandbox and just plays around with and mixes up history and stuff like that, it's always an entertaining watch. So Inglorious Bastards is also one of my favorite movies to come out of the 2000s. So that wraps up my favorites of the 2000s. Don't forget to join me in the comments down below with your picks, or if you want to put up your own video or on YouTube or Instagram or something for me to share, let me know, tag me in one way or another. I'd be happy to promote it. Be sure to join in the rest of the series going forward. We have one more more with the 2010s, and then we will be wrapped up with the series. I would do the 20s, but we're not through the 20s yet. And so we're going to wrap the series up with the next one. Go back if you've missed previous videos to see those. And then I have some more exciting content coming to the channel as well soon. So thank you for checking out this video. Thank you for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.